The sun was setting as Flight 287 prepared for takeoff from JFK International Airport. Passengers were settling into their seats, some excited for their journey, others exhausted from a long day. The hum of the engines filled the cabin as the flight attendants made their final checks. In first class, Travis King, a world-famous rapper, leaned back in his spacious seat, scrolling through his phone. Across the aisle, other VIP passengers sipped their drinks, enjoying the luxury of extra legroom and priority service. Meanwhile, in the cramped rows of economy class, Henry Wallace, an elderly man in his 70s, struggled to get comfortable in his narrow seat. His wrinkled hands gripped the armrests as he let out a tired sigh. A young flight attendant named Rachel noticed Henry shifting uncomfortably. "Sir, would you like a pillow?" she asked kindly. Henry shook his head. "No, thank you. I'm fine," he said, though his aching back told a different story. As passengers settled in, the pilot's voice crackled over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. We are scheduled for a smooth flight to Los Angeles. Please fasten your seatbelts." Travis glanced up, his eyes scanning the cabin. That's when he noticed Henry. Something about the old man's tired expression struck him. Travis tapped the flight attendant on the arm. "Hey, can I switch seats with that man?" Rachel blinked in surprise. "You want to give up your first-class seat?" Travis nodded. "Yeah. I think he needs it more than I do." She hesitated for a moment before giving a small smile. "Let me check." And just like that, a simple offer was about to change everything. It all started when Ethan Carter, a 14-year-old boy, was cleaning out his late grandfather's attic. Dust floated in the air as he rummaged through old boxes filled with faded photographs, yellowed newspapers, and forgotten trinkets. The wooden floor creaked under his weight as he moved deeper into the attic, his flashlight casting eerie shadows on the walls. Just as he was about to leave, something caught his eye: a small metal box tucked away behind a stack of books. Curious, Ethan pulled it out and wiped off the thick layer of dust. The box was locked, but the latch was rusted. With a firm pull, it popped open, revealing a single envelope with his grandfather's name written in elegant handwriting. His heart pounded. Why would Grandpa keep a letter locked away? Ethan hesitated before carefully unfolding the paper. The words inside sent a chill down his spine. "If you're reading this, something has gone terribly wrong." His breath hitched as he read further. The letter spoke of a long-buried family secret, one that could change everything Ethan thought he knew about his grandfather. It mentioned a hidden key and a location Ethan had never heard of before: Hollow Creek Cabin. "What does this even mean?" he whispered to himself. Just then, a gust of wind rushed through the attic, knocking over a stack of books. Ethan jumped, his pulse racing. He wasn't sure what he had just uncovered, but one thing was clear: his grandfather had been hiding something, and it was up to Ethan to find out the truth. Little did he know, this discovery would lead him down a path he never expected. Jake Thompson never expected to find anything interesting in his new home. It was an old house, built decades ago, with creaky floors and dimly lit hallways. His parents had bought it at an auction, saying it had character, but to Jake, it just felt weird. One rainy afternoon, as thunder rumbled outside, Jake sat in his room, bored. He tapped his foot on the wooden floor absent-mindedly until he noticed something strange. One of the floorboards sounded hollow. Hollow. His heart began to race. Using a screwdriver from his dad's toolbox, he pried the board loose. Dust swirled in the air as he pulled up a small, rusted metal box. His fingers trembled as he unlatched it. Inside, there was an old photograph of a young girl, a faded newspaper clipping, and a folded letter. Jake's eyes scanned the newspaper. The headline made his stomach drop. "Local girl goes missing, case still unsolved." He unfolded the letter, his breath hitching as he read the first line. "If you found this, please help. I was taken." Jake's pulse pounded. Was this real? Had someone hidden this here, hoping to be found? Who was the girl in the photo? A sudden creak echoed from downstairs. Jake froze. Was it just the wind, or was someone else in the house? He wasn't sure what he had just uncovered, but one thing was certain: this mystery wasn't meant to stay buried. Ryan Carter never believed in ghost stories until the day he moved into his new house. It was an old Victorian home, filled with strange creaks and shadows that seemed to move on their own. His parents were thrilled about their historic purchase, but Ryan had a bad feeling from the start. One night, while exploring the house, he stumbled upon a narrow hallway he hadn't noticed before. At the end of it stood a wooden door, slightly ajar. Strange. He had walked through this part of the house before, but he was sure this door had never been there. Pushing it open, he stepped inside. The air felt colder. Dust floated through a beam of moonlight, revealing a small room with an old wooden desk. On it sat a journal, its leather cover cracked with age. Curious, he flipped it open. "I don't have much time." The first entry read, "If someone finds this, please remember me." Ryan's stomach tightened. The handwriting was rushed, desperate. He flipped through the pages, scanning the words. Each entry described strange events, shadows whispering at night, footsteps in empty hallways. And then the final chilling line, "I'm disappearing. Soon, I won't exist at all." A sudden noise made Ryan jump. The door now completely shut. He lunged for the handle, but his fingers met only solid wall. His heart pounded. The door was gone. The hallway gone. The room was vanishing. Ryan turned back to the desk, the journal still open. But the ink was fading, as if the words were never there to begin with. And then, before he could scream, everything went dark. Ethan Parker never liked the old mirror in his grandmother's attic. It was massive, with an antique gold frame, and its glass had a strange, cloudy tint. Every time he walked past it, he felt like something was watching him. One evening, while helping his grandmother clean, he accidentally knocked over a box, spilling its contents. Among the dust-covered papers, he found an old photograph. It showed a young boy standing in front of the same mirror, but the reflection was wrong. The boy's reflection wasn't copying his pose. Instead, it stood still, staring straight ahead. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. Curious but uneasy, he turned to the mirror. He raised his hand and froze. His reflection wasn't moving. His breath hitched. He waved, jumped, even spun in a circle. The reflection didn't move at all. Then, slowly, it tilted its head. Ethan stumbled back, his heart pounding. The reflection took a step forward, but Ethan hadn't moved. Panic surged through him. He spun around to run, but he wasn't in the attic anymore. He was standing inside the mirror. His reflection, now free, smirked at him from the outside. It touched the glass, grinning as Ethan pounded on the other side. "No. Let me out." Ethan screamed. The last thing he saw was the reflection turning away, walking toward his grandmother downstairs wearing his face. And then, just like that, Ethan Parker was gone. Jake Reynolds had always been warned about the abandoned house at the end of his street. "It's not safe," his parents would say. But one night, curiosity got the best of him. With a flashlight in hand, Jake slipped through the broken gate. The house smelled of dust and decay, its wooden floors groaning under his weight. Then, he saw at a door he had never noticed. Before it was slightly open, as if inviting him in. A chill ran down his spine, but he stepped inside anyway. The room was completely empty, except for an old wooden chair in the center. But something felt off. The air was thick, heavy, like he was being watched. Then, the door slammed shut. Jake spun around, heart racing. He lunged for the doorknob, but his hands grasped at nothing. The door was gone. Panic surged through him. He ran to the walls, feeling for a way out, but they were solid. No windows, no seams, just endless darkness. A whisper echoed through the room. Then another. The voices grew louder, circling him, laughing. Then silence. Jake's flashlight flickered. In its dim glow, he saw something that made his blood run cold. The chair was no longer empty. A figure sat there, grinning. Its hollow eyes locked onto Jake's. The flashlight died, and when the house was searched the next morning, Jake Reynolds was never found. Mason Carter never believed in ghosts until the night he went into his grandma's attic. She had always warned him, never go up there after dark. But when his baseball rolled up the attic stairs, He didn't think twice. The wooden steps creaked beneath him as he climbed. Dust swirled in the beam of his flashlight. The air smelled old, like forgotten memories. Then he saw it. A tall mirror stood against the wall, its surface covered in dust. But when Mason wiped it clean, his stomach dropped. His reflection was missing. A chill crawled up his spine. He waved his hand. Nothing. His chest tightened as he backed away, then a movement. Something inside the mirror stepped forward. It looked like him. Same messy hair. Same hoodie. But its eyes were all wrong. Cold. Hollow. Hungry. Then it smiled. Mason stumbled back, his flashlight shaking. The figure in the mirror reached out, pressing its hands against the glass. Cracks spread like spiderwebs. The air turned icy. A low whisper echoed in his ears. "Let me in." Mason ran. He leaped down the stairs, heart pounding. He slammed the attic door behind him. Silence. For days, he refused to go back. But at night, in the darkness of his room, he felt it. Something watching. And when he dared to look in his mirror, it was still smiling.